Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Guardians of the CLE Live, coming to you across all the Believeland Media social media platforms. So check us out on YouTube, Twitch, X, and also our Guardians of the CLE X account. We're going live right now. I wanted to bring in my co-host, Paul Huffaker. Paul, how are you doing today?
Well, after that introduction, there's only one way to go from here, and that's just down for me. So thank you for putting me up there on that pedestal, and now we'll slowly start knocking me down.
You want to be a 500 host? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to do better than the Guardians will this season.
Well,
Wow.
that's going to be a tough one.
Not
Paul,
really, no.
It looks like we have a third square in the screen tonight.
Center square gets the block!
That's right.
Wait, am I too old to make that reference? Am I too young to make that reference?
You're right in the middle, I think.
Sweet. Nobody who's watching this knows what the hell I meant by that, though.
Probably not.
Well, let's talk about who's in our Hollywood Square today. It is the owner of Believeland Media, Kevin Sleds. Kevin, thanks for joining us tonight, talking some Guardians baseball after all the high school basketball coverage that you've been doing, some NCAA coverage as well. I hope it's refreshing to get back to baseball a little bit for you.
It definitely is, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
So the Guardians wrapping up spring training today. I want to look ahead. Finally, we're in a week where we're going to have some regular season baseball. So it looks like Thursday we start in Oakland for a 4-game series. And what I'm excited about, I don't know if you guys looked at the schedule or not, or anybody out there that's watching, the times are not ridiculous. So for a Thursday night, for the opening day in Oakland, it's a 7:07 start. And without looking, I was for sure it's like, nope, that's going to be 10:10.
Thought it was too.
I was pretty excited about that. And then the Friday game is a 6:40 start. And then also Saturday and Sunday are 1:07 starts. So thankfully, we got some decent start times for that first series, and we get 4 games in a row, which is exciting. I remember years past where it felt like we would get an opening day game, whether it be at home or on the road, and then it'd be off the next day, and then you have that delay. What'd you guys think about that?
No, go ahead, Paul.
Personally, I think we need to sweep Oakland because they're not a good team and they're not sure of themselves. So I'm excited that I don't have to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning watching opening day. But part of me is also still going to be doing some variation of that because MLB Network will have, I'm sure, the Dodgers on or the Angels on or some West Coast team that is playing late. And look, March 27th is baseball eve, and then it all begins. And remember very clearly that only one team gets to host the Commissioner's Trophy at the end of the season. So there's going to be 29 teams that are going to be disappointed at the end of this season. But for one day, everybody is at 0-0. Everybody has a chance to win. And that's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely great to have baseball back, even though the weather doesn't feel like baseball weather. But hopefully, by the time the home opener comes around in another week and a half, it'll be warmed up a little bit. I know.
Fingers crossed.
It's kind of wreaking havoc on the high school baseball season to start. Opening day was Saturday, and everybody got postponed. So.
Yeah, I saw that on the Believeland pages where it was like, oh, we're going to be covering this baseball game. And I'm looking at the weather going, it's going to be 30 degrees.
Yeah.
These boys wearing 2 sizes of long johns or something under there? What the hell?
That would not have been fun.
Into a snowman at second base?
The thing I always go back to is I remember playing fall ball. So trying to just play in the cold, if you're all wrapped up, too many layers, it just doesn't feel normal. But the other thing is the expense of an aluminum bat. If it's too cold and you ding that expensive bat
Oof.
And that happened to me. I had a nice Nike bat that I really liked and played one cold fall ball game, and it was done. So, yeah, cold temperatures and baseball, it just doesn't feel like a great fix. And that's why, thankfully, we're starting out on the West Coast.
I did want to make a note because I was looking at the schedule on the Guardians website, and it does actually say a 10:07 Eastern start time for opening day.
For Thursday?
On Thursday, and then Friday is a 9:40. Saturday and Sunday are 4:07 though.
So it must be the site I'm on is going by the different time zone then.
Yeah,
it might be in the Pacific time zone.
Oh, well, I tried. I was hoping that we would maybe get some more sleep on those couple weeknight games.
Sleep is for suckers. We've got a whole West Coast road trip to worry about.
Guys, I figured we wanted to start talking about the opening day roster that's been, announced this week. From our pitchers to our outfielders to our infielders to our catchers, you look up and down the list, and if you recall last year, we were looking at names like Josh Bell and Mike Zunino, our big free agent signings.
Didn't Zunino retire too?
Yeah, just recently.
So that's even worse in hindsight now.
Right. But yeah, we don't have some of those names around that we had last year that we thought were our big free agents or ones that would help get us over the hump. Who knew that we were going to have such a team slump last year from a hitting standpoint? So I wanted to look first at our outfielders, guys. I wanted to get your opinion on it. Stephen Kwan, he's starting in left field. And then the surprise, Tyler Freeman being in center field. And then also Will Brennan making the right field. And so Ramon Laureano and then Estevan Florial. So those five are going to be your outfielders for opening day. Guys, how do you feel about Tyler Freeman in center field?
I love it. I've been a huge Tyler Freeman fan for many years. I've always said that he's possibly the best pure hitter in the system when he was coming up. I hit 300 at every level. And I know Straw had the health issue in spring training that caused him to miss quite a few games. But you could see when Freeman was in there every day, just about in center field. And when Straw came back, he was still playing a lot of center field. So the writing was kind of on the wall there. And, Stephen Vogt really talked up Estevan Florial, before spring training started. He's a guy they want to take a look at. So you had a pretty good idea he was going to make the roster. And that left Myles Straw as the odd man out.
Holy crap.
Like
Much to my pleasure.
You guys are preying on somebody's downfall? What kind of horrible human beings are you?
Downfall.
Oh my God.
That's why you say you wish him nothing but success.
Well, where the hell else is he going to go?
Savannah Bananas.
Who the hell else is going to pick him up? The Yankees certainly aren't.
Myles Straw is a great human being, great teammate. We all remember what he did at Yankee Stadium defending Stephen Kwan, the Yankees fans who were throwing slurs at him. Great center fielder, Gold Glove center fielder, but he's been that black hole at the bottom of the lineup, along with the catching position before Bo Naylor finally came up. And it was time, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Myles, when Myles was traded here July of 21 for Phil Maton and then a Class A prospect named Yanier Diaz to Houston, we thought the trade was great because elite center fielder from a glove standpoint. He was a career 305 hitter in the minors, but he came to Cleveland, batted 285 and 21. But then after that, it was like he fell off. He got his 5-year, $25 million extension, which Cleveland thought was a decent deal. But he just stopped hitting, period. He batted 228. He had 1 home run, 42 doubles, stole 42 bags. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on Myles. Like you said, Kevin, I appreciate him. I appreciate his glove. I I appreciate him being a good teammate. And then, oh, by the way, I did get a game used bat of Miles Straw. I wanted to show you guys. So,
God.
it's still pretty nice. I think it's a nice collectible, but I'm just seeing maybe there was a problem at the plate with this, but maybe this was the problem. What do you think?
The thing that bothers me most about Miles Straw is that the rule changes last year were right in his wheelhouse. Larger bags, the two step off, and then you have to give the base up. The pitch clock, all of that worked to his advantage, and he still couldn't take advantage of those situations. He should have been the team leader in stolen bases. He should have been going for base hits, bunting, getting on base however you can, and then wreaking havoc on the base paths. And he just couldn't do it. And look, his defense is fantastic, as Jose Ramirez in the final spring training game of the season at Goodyear just hit a solo home run off of Hunter Green of the Cincinnati Reds to make it 1-0 Guardians. Miles Straw is what free agents in Cleveland always are, it seems. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Well, what makes matters worse, too, is you mentioned the guys we gave up for him, and Yainer Diaz, the prospect, who was a catcher at the time. Houston moved him to first base. His first full season in the bigs last year, at 363 at-bats, hit 278 with 23 home runs. So another power hitter that slipped away for a team that struggles with the home run.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to talk about Ramon Laureano, him being a former teammate of Stephen Vogt's. I just really think he's going to play a key contributing part where he's just playing all over the place, and Stephen's going to throw him out there, and Ramon's going to excel at that role. I know we did that a little bit with him last year, but something tells me he should have even a more comfortable year this year, being kind of another utility guy in the outfield and then come even into the infield if necessary. I look at Will Brennan on that list, warning track Will. I need him to, hit a few homers because, we could talk later and what was sent down and what was the hot topic of spring training with the Lauder. But there's definitely some bats in the minors that are going to be itching to get on this roster sometime this year.
It's disappointing that Chase DeLauder is going to start in Double-A. It's not disappointing for us fans who are going to have a much cheaper ticket to see Chase DeLauder in person. You should definitely get down to Canal Park and see the Akron Rubber Ducks and see Chase DeLauder before that ticket price in Cleveland becomes $40 to $50. Down in Akron, it's what, 12, 18 if you want to sit front row. So definitely go see these guys before they become the big stars of tomorrow, because this is a great farm system that is being underrated, I think, by Major League Baseball.
And, last, as far as Stephen Kwan leading off, should have a better year this year. Came on a little bit stronger towards the end of last year. I know, Paul, you and I have talked about not putting a whole lot into spring training. It's almost the preseason football effect where you don't want to get too excited. You got to kind of keep your hopes a little bit, relaxed. But Stephen looks good coming out of spring training this year, so we hope to see him all over the base paths this year, scoring a lot of runs for us, and hopefully with some power behind it. Let's move on to the infielders a little bit. Of course, Josh Naylor playing first base will get some DH time here and there. Andres Jimenez back at second. Jose Ramirez back at third base. Our closest thing that we have to a American League MVP candidate. I see. Nice job, Paul. But then shortstop. Shortstop's finally been settled of who's going to get the majority of the starts, and that's Brian Rocchio. I got to shout out to Mel on that one that's finally here. We heard that all last year about how we want to see him get some at-bats there, and then even some Arias some at-bats. What do you think, Brian Rocchio, switch hitter, what do you think he's going to do for us in that lineup?
I'm just excited that March 28th we get to celebrate Rokio Day for the first time ever. Like, this has been a dream come true for all of us who are watching the farm system and have seen this kid develop and have been begging, pleading, please get him to Cleveland and don't trade him somewhere else, because God forbid we make that mistake again with another infielder. It's time. It's time to put up or shut up, is essentially what this season is for the Cleveland Guardians. If you're good, you better be damn good. If you're bad, it's time to show that you're really bad and be done with it, because we don't have a lot of room for mistakes with this team. We got to get it right, because we don't have a lot of time left with what we currently have. Have to keep in mind, Shane Bieber is in his walk year. Are you going to trade him at the deadline? That's all dependent on if you're in the hunt or not. And it's not hard to be in the hunt when there are about 15 to 18 teams in the hunt now.
I love it. I'm just like Paul. I've been yelling for them to get this guy up here for a couple of years now. We finally got a little taste last year, and I think he's the best overall shortstop prospect we have, both offensively and defensively. So, I think he's going to be a solid addition. He's going to struggle at times, but overall, I think he's going to fit in very well.
And then you have David Fry and Gabriel Arias that are going to be our utility guys. Arias supposed to be, if you want to compare the two, Rocchio and Arias to defensively, Arias is supposed to be the one that is the better glove, but we'll see. I want to see Rocchio just play out of his mind, hopefully, at the beginning. I really would like to see somebody just come out and be hot, at least one player, and one's out of nowhere guy. And if it's Rocchio, then that's fantastic. I expect Stephen Kwan to be solid at the top of that lineup, but let's see who has one of the best Aprils, because we're going to need it. With the way that the Twins are. I think it was 89 wins last year. I think they won the division at, and so a good start for this team with a rookie manager, now with a rookie shortstop as well. It's going to be interesting. And David Fry, you plug him anywhere. The guy hits. It's I don't know how to explain it. I don't think I don't see, Kevin, in your background any David Fry autographed jerseys, but he's a guy that's valuable to this team. So let's take a look at our catchers. Bo Naylor, finally, the guy that we screamed for once again last year to come up. How you doing, Paul? Bo came up last year, got some good at-bats, got some good experience, but now they decided to bring back the hottest free agent behind the plate, at least in the city of Cleveland, Austin Hedges. So Austin is back to help develop Bo and to become that everyday catcher that we want, plus the additional offense that we're going to get from him at the plate compared to what we have went through the last couple seasons.
The
Guys,
amount
what do you think about
ground ball outs we are going to have from Austin Hedges is going to change your lives. The amount of fly ball outs we are going to have to shallow left center is going to change this team fundamentally forever. But what Austin Hedges is about to do to this rotation and this pitching staff is going to change this team forever. Because you could argue that the reason that Triston McKenzie was Triston McKenzie early in his career was because of the work that Austin Hedges put in with him and turned him into a phenom that we haven't seen since. I want to see if that continues, if Hedges and McKenzie come back together and come back into form and become that unstoppable machine that Triston McKenzie is capable of being. Because if you recall, he was lights out at times in that season with Hedges. And it was because of the positive affirmations from Hedges through the pitch comp, which Austin Hedges hacked. So good on him. I'm eager to see who else can break out from that. One name to keep an eye on that I think could be something if given the right time to grow is Tyler Beede. He made the opening day roster. I don't know what you're going to get out of him. This is a 2014 first rounder that was picked by San Francisco. He was picked to be one of those guys that was going to be the next big thing. I actually saw him make the Western team's Eastern League All-Star start in Akron back in 2016, ironically, against another guy who is currently sitting on the free agent list that everybody expects to get hundreds of millions of dollars in Jordan Montgomery. If Tyler Beede has what I think he can still bring, and you pair him up with Austin Hedges, you could be looking at a comeback player of the year.
Wow. That's some big words for Beede. I hope you're right. But
I
as far as
I like what he's
sticky
got.
note, I'd be putting that on the wall right now.
as far as the catchers go, Bo came up obviously last year, struggled for a bit at first, but we seen what he can do. What the potential he has the last couple months of the season, and I think he's going to have a pretty solid year. It's nice to finally have some offense at that position, for sure.
Amen.
But yeah, hopefully we only see Hedges once, maybe twice a week. We all know how bad he is at the plate, but like Paul said, he's great at handling the staff, a good defender, and a great clubhouse guy. The whole team was excited to see him back, just for his clubhouse presence.
You could argue he's part of the reason why the Texas Rangers won the World Series.
Yeah, he's got a ring now, so I was going to mention that. And that gets people's attention. And the reports I had heard through Jay Crawford did some interviews there at the beginning of spring, and he said to the man, everybody was talking about Hedges being back and what a huge lift that is for the team. So that $4 million might not show up in the box score, but it's going to show up over the course of a 162 game season, and then hopefully more. With just him keeping the clubhouse loose, I think focused, and having some leadership there.
I think
then
you
maybe
just
there'll
hit the
be
nail on the head right there, leadership. Because I'm worried that we might have gotten the wrong guy for the manager spot, and if we had waited another year, we could have gotten Hedges. Because I don't think he's got much longer in the game as a player. He just doesn't have the bat for it. But man, is he a smart guy.
Mm-hmm. If you guys want to jump into the starting pitchers, we could look at the list here. Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bibee, Logan Allen, and then right now for number 5 is the cookie is back, Carlos Carrasco. It's going to be neat to see him back at not Jacobs Field, but Progressive Field, and back on the mound in our uniform for no matter how long it is. It's a good story, and maybe it's a story to deflect us maybe from other things so we don't pay attention to some maybe failures or the lack of spending in the off season. Hey, check out these blue seats, and by the way, a cookie's pitching today. I wonder if that's what's kind of going on with the team. But our starting 5, and right now, Gavin Williams start out, miss a couple starts. But should be back soon. So you can't leave that big name and that big arm out of there. From a starting pitching standpoint, where are we at in the American League, guys?
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, first, with regards to Cookie, we all hate how 2016 ended. But one of the coolest moments of that entire campaign was during the World Series, when all of the players came out on the field with their stand up to cancer cards honoring Carlos Carrasco. That's what kind of man he is and how much of a beloved player he is. That said, I don't think he's going to last long simply because he hasn't had anything. He played with the Mets and the Mets cut him, and they're just giving money to anybody at this point. It's a concern. I think what I would like to see from Carlos Carrasco, transition him to the bullpen. Make him a 1-inning guy and let him empty the tank for 1 inning, because I think that's still what he has in the tank. But pitching wise, I mean, if Shane Bieber is Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie is Tristan McKenzie, because both those guys were injured last year, so we don't know yet what we have. But if those guys are healthy, we have the best 1-2 in baseball, bar none. And then you supplement that with a potential Gavin Williams, a potential Tanner Bybee, and everything that is building behind this franchise. I don't see how we do poorly pitching wise. Like our rotation should be able to get us at least to the sixth, if not the seventh, and maybe go deeper. We need to worry more about the bullpen, to be honest.
I was definitely happy to see Carrasco come back. I'm still skeptical about what he can give you on the field. I know his final spring training start, he pitched pretty solid. He's going to get a shot to get a couple starts here. Gavin Williams is supposed to miss maybe 2 starts and be back, so you can give him a couple starts, see what he has, and then like Paul said, possibly transition him to a bullpen role. But I mean, other than that, Bieber's looked outstanding in the spring. Hopefully he's back. McKenzie coming off the injury. Hopefully he can get back to where he was. And like you said, maybe with Austin Hedges on board, he can kind of help with that. And then you've got the outstanding rookies from last year with Bybee, who, made a case for rookie of the year. Gavin Williams and Logan Allen, not a bad 5th starter. So yeah, when they're all healthy and they're all pitching like you expect them to, in my mind, it's the best starting 5 in the American League.
And we shouldn't forget about Daniel Espino, the phenom prospect for us. Once again, another shoulder surgery. Is going to miss this campaign this year for 2024. I look at when I hear this story and the injuries he's having to deal with, it takes me back to thinking about when there was 2 pitchers in mind that I have. That maybe that he's just not going to ever be a starter again. But I think back when John Smoltz and Derek Lowe when he was with the Red Sox, when they transitioned from starting pitchers to really good closers. And maybe that's the route they need to consider with him as a 1 to 2 inning guy versus a starter next year.
I say again, I'd trade him. If you can get anything out of him, trade him, because I don't think he's going to be that guy. I want him to be that guy, and I want him to succeed beyond our wildest expectations. But 2 injuries in 2 years, he's almost going to become a reclamation project at this point for whoever is going to be sticking with him. And we don't really have the time for that. If the AL Central is as wide open as we think it is, and it really does seem to be, we're in win now mode, and he may not ever win a game again.
It's super frustrating because this kid has the best arm in the organization, and I was looking forward to him coming back and pitching at Columbus this year, and then the news comes about him being out for another season. It's just frustrating is pretty much all I can say about it. These guys I've been excited to see for a long time, and you wonder if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, and Paul, I highly doubt they would even consider trading him. They've made comments that he has even exceeded what they've asked him to do for his rehab. So I think the commitment's there. It's just a matter of being blessed and being healed, really, in reality. The skill set's there. It's just a matter, can he maintain anything to be that high 90s pitcher?
You're saying all we need to do is take Joe Boo to him, and the problem's solved.
If Joe Boo had a medical license, yes, I would definitely have him do the surgery.
I mean, he's powerful beyond any expectations that you and I have. Like, I don't have the power to cause somebody to get hit in the head with a baseball bat. I mean, I do, but I'm pretty sure it'd be considered assault at that point.
Right. I mean, I agree. I mean, he's listening, so it's always close by. So let's touch on the bullpen, guys. How about Emmanuel Clase? Back-to-back years, leading the league in saves. Last year looked tired at points, which I know a lot of people would criticize Tito for his use of the bullpen. So let's just start with him, and then we'll rattle down the list. Can Emmanuel Clase back it up again for a third straight year and lead the league in saves?
He went back to back as the American League save leader, correct? And we all consider last year to be a down year for him, correct?
Yeah, I'd say he struggled at points, yeah.
So I guess the answer to that question is, oh, hell yeah. Because even in a down year, he still outperformed every other closer on the league. Why are we discussing this? He had a down year and he was still lights out fantastic for like 75 to 80% of the season. I wish that I was lights out for 75 to 80% of my life. But unfortunately, that only happens when I go to bed at night and I go, oh, finally, I can turn off this screen. I'm not worried about Clase at all. I'm worried about the rest of it because the rest of it is a hodgepodge of I don't know what the hell we're thinking and how we're going to get to the ninth inning.
Yeah, I think he can definitely repeat. Like Paul said, it was a down year, and he did it last year. I'm hoping we see more of the 2022 Clase. I know he had a lot of control problems last year, which led to his struggles. But that 100-mile-an-hour cutter is still there, so that's lethal.
Aaron Judge couldn't hit it during the 62 home run campaign. He couldn't hit it.
No, not many guys can.
And if you remember, we had the number one bullpen in the American League going into the All-Star break last year with the struggles that we had. The other person, Trevor Stephan, is the one we want to talk about, and in the important role that he played last year as one of our top setup guys. So losing him to have more holds, pitching seventh, eighth inning, that's going to be a tough loss, but we did get Scott Barlow. That is somebody that could help play that in that setup role. Eli Morgan with his steady, couple innings a game. Hunter Gaddis is the one that last year, when I thought about seeing him so early in the rotation, because he had to start and pitch last year, the talk is that if he can just throw hard for an inning or two, that he'll be able to maintain that and have greater success in a shorter amount of time with less innings. When I hear that, it makes me feel better about Hunter and what he can bring to the team rather than, an extended inning. So what do you guys think about the rest of the bullpen? And like you said, Paul, how you're going to be able to get it to Emmanuel Clase?
The thing with Hunter Gaddis, because I was really hoping he would be a stud for us last year. We needed a lot and you can argue that we need this person to be a stud. We need this person to be a stud. We need them all to be a stud. And that's also part of the reason why it all fell apart there at the end for us. We were just counting on too many what if scenarios and not setting ourselves up for success overall. With Hunter Gaddis, I think this is a great opportunity for him because one of the things that was a problem for him, he'd get through the first and second inning. He'd get through that first time through the lineup, but then he'd get just tattooed the second time through. So he wasn't making it to the fifth inning. He wasn't making it to the sixth inning because by the fourth inning, they figured him out. If he can just give us 3 to 4 at-bats, 3 to 4 chances, go for it. Because right now, my only concern is getting from the starters to Clase. I got roughly 3 innings to cover, 9 outs. How do I do that? With a rookie manager who has never, ever managed before.
Yeah, I'm excited about Gaddis in the bullpen. He's a guy who I hated as a starter last year because of what Paul said. he'd look good for a couple innings, and then second time around the lineup, they'd start tattooing him. But like you said, James, he can come in for an inning, let it fly. He can hit upper 90s, and that might be the best role for him. But as far as the rest of the guys, we're unfortunately not getting the Scott Barlow from a couple of years ago. Hopefully he can contribute something and, be that bridge to Class A with Stefan out for the year. Tough loss there. Sam Hentges is going to miss some time too. He has the pitching hand injury. So that's going to put a lot on Tim Herron, who came up last year and showed some flashes. He made the bullpen as that lefty. But yeah, it's a question mark. Morgan's kind of up and down. So, I know Cade Smith right now is another hard throwing young arm that tentatively is on the roster. I know Mandy Bell mentioned that they're possibly looking to add another bullpen arm before the season opener. And if they do, then he'll go down. If not, he'll be on the roster. I've seen him at Guards Fest. He's really tall. I could say that. So that's another name to keep an eye on.
So we pretty much covered the roster, and the one thing I want to kind of do a comparison of right now is the way we viewed the Browns versus the Guardians. So the way we viewed the Browns, and I think most of us can agree, is that we had a Super Bowl defense, at least at home. Now on the road, we did not play very well on the road. We had a Super Bowl caliber running back who got injured, and we lost for the season. The offense was the big question mark with quarterback play, and then we saw it later in the season, some really good quarterback play, lifting and elevating players around them. And then we saw, from a kicking standpoint, really good kicking from Dustin Hopkins. When you look at this Guards roster, how do you compare the Browns to this? Because when I look at it, I think from a starting rotation standpoint, I think that's a World Series type starting rotation, even with the youth that we have. The bullpen with Class A in the end, I'm thinking it's at least a playoff team, right? It's a team that can win the AL Central. So for me, it's pitching's there this year. The question's going to be, and we just questioned our middle relievers, can the offense give us enough this year to allow some of these relievers that are coming in and actually handing them leads instead of trying to hold tie games and losing all the one-run games that we lost last year? I think that's the key component, is how is the offense going to play into this? I think defensively we're still going to be good, and we're going to be at a level that's, I think, fine with what the Twins have that won the division last year. What is the biggest improvement that we need to make? And I'm just saying it. To me, it's the offense, and I want to know your guys' views.
Kev, I'll defer to you on that one.
No, I agree. I think the rotation is definitely a playoff rotation. The bullpen is a question mark, obviously. Sorry about that. Mic drop.
The bullpen is a question.
But yeah,
got to put some pine tar on that mic.
The key to the season, like you said, is going to be what they get offensively. The pitching is going to keep them in most games, but I think I mentioned to you guys, I joked with hitting coach Chris Valleca at Guards Fest about hitting more home runs this year, and he said, we're definitely going to try. So the power has been lacking, obviously.
Last in the league in home runs last season.
I think inserting Bo Naylor is going to give, obviously, offense at that position. Rocchio has got some pop in his bat, but these are young players that are going to struggle at times. And I wanted them to go out and get that veteran outfield power hitting bat, but they chose to go with the young guys and see what they can do. Taking a shot on Florial, I know he's got some power as well, but that's going to be the question, what they're going to get out of these guys.
If this conversation were happening in September, I would have the utmost confidence in this team to make a unbelievable postseason run, because our pitching at least the starting three, I would put up against anybody. But we are having this conversation at the end of March, which means we have to play 162 to get to that point. And I don't think our offense is going to get us there. I think that we're going to struggle to hit. I think there are a lot of question marks in places that we don't need them to be. How many years have we gone with the phrase, well, we need a power bat, and we still don't have it. And by the way, we could have gotten that power bat because JD Martinez signed with the Mets for $12 million freaking dollars. And if you're telling me all we had to do was maybe pay him $13 million, which by the way, he's not even making $13 million this year. He deferred $7 million across like 10 years. So he'll be getting paid $1.5 million in deferred money for the next 10 years, plus what he's being paid now. If you're telling me that's all it took to get JD Martinez to this team to solidify an offense that is not there yet, it tells me one thing. The ownership is not spending money, and they're not worried about it. And that is a concern. I mean, you look at Michael Lorenzen. He signed with the Texas Rangers for 1 year and $4.5 million. You're telling me he wouldn't have been a great fit for this rotation? Like, where is the money being spent is the problem right now. Because if you're not going to spend money on this team and you're not going to develop well, because you have not developed Daniel Espino, he's gotten injured twice in 2 seasons, and he's doing what you're telling him to do. That's on you at that point. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very concerned right now about this team. And that's why, honest to God, I've got them winning 75 games because they're not good.
Where's the money being spent?
Just underneath everybody else that is going to be a contender this season.
The money's being spent on blue seats and new signs.
And that's great. I'm glad Progressive is sponsoring this team still. Fantastic job. I'm sure they're going to keep it up. But if the team on the field is not drawing, it doesn't matter how many seats you put in, take out, hover over the stadium in a blimp for all I give a damn. If they're not going to put the money into the franchise, what are we doing here?
I think, though, if you would have brought Martinez in, he's just going to hold a spot where I think that this year, because we've talked about every time you look at your opening day roster and then you look at it later in the season, you know there's going to be a good bit of names that are going to flip off that. And I think there's enough power down in the outfield that's just waiting. Are we going to get a George Valera? Are we going to get a Rodriguez? And then there's even, like, look at the infielders with Angel Martinez and Juan Brito and Jose Tena. There's guys that are there that are hungry. So to me, like, I'm looking at the list of players right here.
Manzardo.
I think the guy that has the hottest seat is going to be Will Brennan.
And I'll give you that, but here's the thing. If you're not going to bring in a power bat, if you're not going to bring in somebody that you know can hit, then why the hell isn't Kyle Manzardo on the opening day roster? This is your best guy in terms of power in the minor leagues right now. He was the reason you made the trade last year. You wanted him, and you wanted him to be here sooner rather than later. Service time isn't as big a deal anymore because if he finishes in the top 3 in the Rookie of the Year, he gets a full year and you're just screwed. So you can call him up in June, July if you want to, but if somehow he makes it into the top 3 on the Rookie of the Year, you just shot yourself in the foot again. And I see too much of that with the front office of this organization. They keep making dumb decisions like Josh Bell and Mike Zunino when you could be going after guys who actually are good at this. Like, I'm going to tell you, honest to God, when I saw the contract for JD Martinez and Michael Lorenzen, I yelled audibly in anger because that should have been us. That's the difference between a team that is hungry and a team that is ready. We're a team that is hungry. I believe that the 26 men that are going to go out for opening day are hungry, no doubt about that. I don't believe that the front office is hungry at all. I think they're sitting there eating their steaks and lobsters and going, you know what? This is fine. And you're going to see that once we get to about July and August, when this team starts to fall apart, because they can't do this on their own. And the team is not going to make a significant trade to add a piece at the deadline. What's going to end up happening is if Bieber is Bieber, he's going to be gone at the deadline. And each of you knows that's true.
No, our trade deadline additions will be DeLauder and Manzardo.
And that's not even like, that's been Cleveland baseball for so long, it's almost laughable now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I remember back when Michael Brantley was injured, and we're like, well, Michael Brantley's coming back, so we'll have him at the trade deadline. It's almost like adding a piece. No, it's not. We know what we've got with him. We don't know what we have if we add a significant bonus piece who's doing well on a bad team that wants to come play for a winner. I want us to be a winning franchise, and it really doesn't feel like front office does.
We are a winning franchise. If you look what we've done over the last 5 years to 10 years, as far as total wins, if you just want to look at, if somebody gets excited for the regular season wins and look how many we've put out compared to other franchises, we're right up there. Now, the other ones that are above us are winning World Series. That's the difference.
And that's the thing that you want.
Right, exactly. I'm not debating that or arguing that. My point is that they're justifying their business moves in baseball, because that's what we're doing. A lot of us fans want to play fantasy baseball and always want to add the best player here and there when we want them, and like, come on, crying emoji. Why the hell aren't they on the roster? They're playing the business of baseball, and I'm not saying I love it. I'm not saying I like it. I can say that, yes, I can see where they're justifying some of that with the wins, but what else are we going to do? Are we going to start selling out 455 straight games again? Do we have that kind of population in Northeast Ohio still to start following that winning baseball and get there? The thing
Probably
what put people in the seats back then was the offense that we had. It was the new stadium, Jacobs Field. Oh my gosh, we can't believe what we're sitting in downtown Cleveland to watch a baseball game. But those days are over. Now it's about just getting those monthly passes and standing room only tickets, and having all the local breweries and eateries that are inside the stadium. So it is a different, newer, cool environment, and I'll give it that. But the question is how do we get enough people into that stadium for more sellouts in order to maybe help, besides doing a GoFundMe account for whatever player we want? What are we going to do to help get more funds in there? There's gambling around baseball now.
Yes, Shohei Ohtani's fully aware of that.
Yes. And there was something that just came across as we were sitting here about, I guess he's going to have a press conference on Monday, speaking publicly for the first time on the theft allegations. But real quick, I wanted to jump out there and say that 103 live viewers right now. We really appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Feel free to jump in the chat, add any comments you want as we look to wrap up the show today. Guys, what do you want to jump into next? We've covered the roster. We've covered the season, the beginning of the season. We have our thoughts on our players. Do we want to get into prediction mode here this last 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, so we can hear Paul say how Detroit's going to win the division again.
I didn't say that last year. I just said they were going to be at second at some point.
Yeah, but you can just edit last year's comments and just place them in there.
Yeah, let's do some predictions. Go ahead, Paul. You lead it off.
So I've got Baltimore taking the American League East. Minnesota is going to take the Central just simply because of attrition. They added a couple key pieces there, but they've got a really solid 1-2 as well. Granted, I would take our 1-2 over their 1-2 in terms of rotation pieces, but Pablo Lopez is the real deal, and he really made Minnesota look like a serious team, not a team that's just finding their way into the postseason. I think my surprise is that I have 3 teams from the American League West making the postseason.
Wow.
And I've got Texas and Houston as the wild cards. I'm going with Seattle to take the American League West. I think they're going to take a step up. I think that the trade of Robbie Ray, it looks bad from a distance, but when you see what they have and what they can do, especially Logan Gilbert, I really think Seattle's going to take that next step. And I think that fan base is going to push them kicking and screaming into the postseason with ferocity. National League side, I don't think it should come as a shock to anybody that I'm taking Atlanta in the East and the Dodgers in the West, because if you don't, you're just trying to make content here. You're trying for clicks and likes. That's not me. I'm looking at this from a purely baseball perspective, which is the Braves and the Dodgers have the two best rosters in Major League Baseball right now, without question. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on Atlanta. And I know that sounds weird when you've got a roster that has so many top 100 players. But man, Atlanta is just from top to bottom, there's not a hole there. That's really scary for the National League East. My NL Central pick is going to be a shocker, but I'm going with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I love their young team. They have great energy, tremendous chemistry, and oh yeah, they're getting O'Neal Cruz back. And he was unbelievable before his injury. Pair him up with Ke'Bryan Hayes, Henry Davis, and the rest of that team, Brian Reynolds as well. You've got the makings of a team that could just kind of go, hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere. And I really want to see that Pirates franchise get that moment, because they've been waiting for so long. And man, they're as invested as we are. They have the same type of, our ownership doesn't want to spend money, but theirs is 10 times worse. So I want to see them succeed, and I'm taking them for the Central. My two wild cards in the National League, I'm going to go Philadelphia, because, again, if there's any team that can oppose Atlanta in the National League East, it really is Philadelphia. They're just incredibly well built. And I think we all had a few questions about Bryce Harper making the switch to first base last year. And he not only did well, he excelled. You wouldn't know that he'd never played first base in a Major League Baseball game. He looked like he'd been there for 10 years. So I think Bryce Harper is going to carry the Philadelphia Phillies to the top wild card. And then I've got the St. Louis Cardinals as my number 2 NL wild card. And that's more or less just because that team is better than what they were last year. The record doesn't show the quality of team that they have. Overall, I'm probably going to go with Atlanta and Baltimore as my World Series. That pregnant pause really got you, didn't it, Kev? Atlanta and Baltimore is my World Series. I'm still on the fence on which team's going to win that, because Baltimore is such a question mark for me. They won over 100 games last year, and they just got bounced. And I think that's going to make them want it even more. It reminded me a lot of when Kansas City made their back-to-back runs, and that second year they were just like all cylinders, let's just go. And I'm kind of thinking that's what happens with Baltimore. I think that they're really going to take it on. And if you notice, there's a team missing from that list that I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by. I don't have Tampa Bay making the postseason at all.
Or Detroit.
Hey, now, I do think Detroit's going to be a great team. And I think Colt Keith, their young rookie, is going to turn some heads. Tarek Skubal is going to look great for them. He looked great in spring training. He came on strong at the end of the season. Like, he's got what they need. They're one or two more pieces away from being a postseason contender. Which is what I said a couple years ago. So,
I'm going Baltimore, Minnesota, Texas in the American League. Dodgers, Atlanta, and the Cubs in the National League. My World Series, same as Paul's, Baltimore and Atlanta, which I think would be a fun series.
I would love watching that.
We're not the only team that sent down a top prospect having a great spring, because Baltimore sent Jackson Holliday down as well.
Which is my pick to win the Rookie of the Year.
It's a good pick.
I don't think he'll be down in the minor leagues long. He's going to be a huge stud. I think he should have started on the opening day roster. You've got Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter on the Texas Rangers starting lineup. They're both rookies. One of them is probably going to win the Rookie of the Year unless they split the vote amongst the electorate. Jackson Holliday should have been an opening day roster guy.
Did you give your Guardians prediction, record-wise?
75 wins.
75? All right. I'm going to go 80.
Because it's not going to take 90 wins to win the AL Central.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, since you guys said that, I'm going to go Guardians winning the Central with 90 wins, with the Twins getting 89, winning it by one game over the Twins. And I'm with you, though, with the Orioles. Definitely have the Orioles in the East. The West, I think Scherzer coming back later in the season can help the Rangers, give them the lift, win the West. The Braves, with the Phillies right behind them as a wild card. I absolutely love what the Braves are doing. I'm kind of with you on the Cardinals. Really thinking they can turn it around. They've had some down years, and I really think they can turn it around this year. I'm not riding the Pirates with you, even though I think it's a cool story. And as much as I love to bury Pittsburgh fans, this is baseball, though. So love PNC Park, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love to see some improvement over there, some excitement. Of course, I'd love to see Cleveland over Pittsburgh in the World Series. That would be an outstanding achievement, but not going to happen this year. And then the Dodgers out west. So I'm seeing the Guardians getting, at best, the third seed in the playoffs. And what goes on from there, I don't know. The question's going to be, if we can get to 90, it's because at the trade deadline, we decided not to trade Shane Bieber. We decided not to trade Emmanuel Clase. And we actually added to the team slightly. And I don't know where that slightly is going to be. But that's what I'm thinking. I think the Guards at least make the playoffs with that third seed. But my World Series prediction, this is just so weird hearing you guys say this already. I got the Braves over the Orioles too.
Oh wow!
Absolutely. I know. I'm glad I got to go last, but because I was like, okay, that's Paul's. But then with Kevin, you nailed it too. Having Jackson Holliday come up at the end of the year too. Plus, if they make any other moves to strengthen that team, I just don't think the Red Sox are there yet. The Yankees can't pitch. The Rays should have.
Carlos Rodon is like washed.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays have a chance to do something this year, but definitely improve it mode. But the AL Central, zero confidence in the Royals, Tigers, White Sox, and the Twins seem to just be content with just beating us to win the division. That's where I think we can finally, all those sophomore slumps that we had on offense last year, and the not having the health we needed in our pitching staff, I think that's where the difference maker is in order to make this team great. Hopefully Stephen Vogt can really bring that energy this year and be a rookie manager to win a division and get to the playoffs. But to me, everything past that would be icing on a cake. That would be still an awesome story to have October baseball in Cleveland.
The reason why I couldn't pick Toronto is because of Vladimir Guerrero. His numbers have steadily declined since the 2021 season, which was in Dunedin and at Solon Field in Buffalo. And I'm starting to worry that his numbers from that season were heavily inflated simply because he was playing in minor league baseball parks. And I don't know that he necessarily is going to be that big power force that Toronto thought they had signed and gotten. When it comes to Tampa Bay, it's tough to keep them out of the postseason. And I think it's going to be a tough battle between Baltimore and Tampa Bay all the way to the final day of the season. But the American League West is just absolutely stacked at the top. And to not expect one of those Texas teams to make it, let alone both of them, is a little bit tough. Tampa, I would like to see make a deep run, but I think their time was last year, and I think they flamed out a little bit there at the end. And it's also worth pointing out, because we all three had the same World Series, we did not discuss this beforehand.
That's
right.
That's
why we're all kind of like, what? If this was literally, we sat down in front of the camera today, and this is us giving you our predictions. Like, I've got my stuff written down here on this piece of paper, which will go in the Baseball Hall of Fame when it's all accurate. But overall, it's interesting to me, because it's great that we're just days away from baseball that actually counts, as the Reds are just beating up the Guardians 6-2, as you can see there. It's a good thing these games don't count, right?
Right. Well, guys, you ready to wrap it up for tonight?
Yeah, I think we covered quite a bit.
I gotta go get, because I got a call here from Shohei Ohtani. He wants me to place a bet on FanDuel on the Angels. That's weird.
Yeah, that does sound kind of weird.
He must know something that I don't.
Well, none of us predicted the Angels to do anything this year, because they just won't.
No, the Angels are done. That's bad.
Yeah, let's wrap it up tonight. I want to thank you both for jumping in this afternoon here for a Sunday. I know we're all excited for regular season to get started. Thursday night for our Guardians, and it should be a fun season. Let's try to not kill each other on Twitter this season. Let's back our guys. Baseball's supposed to be fun. Get out to the park, and as Paul said, the parks. Get out to Akron. Get out to Lake County. If you can travel down to Columbus, check out our guys that you may or may not see in the Major League roster by the end of the year. It really should be a fun season. Looking forward to being up there on April 8th for the home opener. I'd look forward to seeing and speaking to any of you there if you're there. And
I'm actually looking into going to the 12th, because the Yankees are going to be in town.
That will be my 50th birthday, Paul. So if you want to take me, I will gladly sit beside you. So
mine is a few days before that in March. So
awesome.
Aries over here representing.
That's right. And, we got Easter weekend coming up. So I hope everybody has a great Easter weekend with your family. Enjoy your time with that. And, check me out Tuesday night at 8:00. I will be on Real Squad podcast with Lana, Lysandra, and Yvette, promoting more Guardians baseball, representing Cleveland Media and Guardians of the CLE Live. So check us out there, 8:00 Tuesday night. And guys, once again, just appreciate your time today. I know we all have other things to be doing, but it is nice to block an hour of time and just talk to. Yes, you're coming over to help me do some things. I'll tell you after the show.
I talk baseball all the time. That's what I do. It annoys the hell out of my brother. He's like, shut up already.
But yeah, keep following all the Cleveland Media platforms from Facebook to YouTube to Twitch, X. Follow all of our accounts. I know the guys have been busy. Want to shout out Marshawn Powers, doing a lot of work for high school state championship coverage. So we do a lot more than just these pro shows for Brown and Orange Weekly and Pile Driver Podcast. Those guys are killing it too. So we've been very busy. So if you check out our YouTube channel, there's plenty of videos on there for your local high school, promoting the players, student athletes, and their coaches. So check us out.
Also, if you want to sponsor any of the shows or sponsor Believeland Media, the guy that you would contact is literally on the screen right now below us, and he can make his pitch in the next 30 seconds.
No, we're looking at, for sponsorships. Obviously, our big niche has become high school sports, and we love bringing the exposure and putting the spotlight on our student athletes. And obviously we can't do that without sponsorships to be able to bring on more people to expand our coverage. So yeah, if you're interested, definitely reach out and let us advertise for you and help your business grow as well.
I just saw Daystar Ford just re-signed for another season.
Yep,
earlier today.
We had them previously as a Portage County sponsor. They underwent some management changes and were able to get them back on board, back in the family. So they're great people there, great dealership. So we're looking forward to continuing our partnership with them again.
Very good. Welcome back, Daystar. Very good.
That shouldn't have been a golf clap. That should have been like a full-throated, like, oh my God, we're going to the World Series. Because James is crazy and thinks we're going to the World Series.
I'll save some of that. Yeah, definitely tune in Tuesday night. I got a little something for you to help break our home run droughts and maybe that World Series drought that I didn't predict, but it can't hurt hope, right?
But I will point out, and I think I need to be commended for this because this is definitely me that caused this to happen. Last year when we did this show, you guys were all in, like, World Series or bust, and then now this year you're tempering your expectations a little bit. And I think that's a good way to do things, guys, because now if things go better, we can be excited about it. But if things
we're
go
going to be
worse,
excited about it regardless.
But if things go worse, you're not setting yourselves up for failure. You're just calm. And that's what we need to be, is just a nice
Yo, Paulie, the voice of reason.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Phil.
Go Guardians. Let's have fun this season.
That's right. Well, everybody have a great rest of your weekend. There's not much left, so go enjoy it. And guys, thanks again. And go Guardians.
Go Guardians.